Hello, this is a clinic for exercise number 25 in the Pottag Preparatory Melodies for solo work. This piece is used as a very good audition piece because they're wanting to know, first of all, if you have superior rhythm, your digital dexterity, how clean the fingers move, and then how the tongue and the fingers react together. So we have a lot of notes and it needs to be more machine-like. One of the first things that I would recommend is playing this first at a slower tempo. I would start off maybe about 72. 72 is this tempo. This is just for practice purpose. Notice I have the subdivision on. What you should do at this point, before you even start actively playing this, is practice in finger rhythm, such as da dee da 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 dee da 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 da, da, and so forth, all the way through this. And it's actually good if you vocalize it with the tongue, going audibly or with a tu, or anything that you can coordinate the good finger rhythm plus your tongue. Then, once that is done, just at a nice, comfortable volume, slur everything. Notice right there, I had a little bobble, and I'm not editing this out because I want to show you something. Lower notes take more energy to sound as loud. So what happens there, when I had that little bobble, I didn't have enough energy blowing through those notes. So you have to understand 3 rules of using air. Notes that ascend or go up need more air, just so the lips don't squeeze the notes out. The air must blow them out. Second rule of using air, notes that go down need more air. Lower notes take more energy to sound as loud. So if I don't use the same amount, rather if I don't use enough air, it'll come off as a diminuendo. I wasn't trying to make a diminuendo, it happens naturally. So what I have to do to compensate for that is play a little bit more energetically, going down to that A. And notice there is one note in there that's not speaking really well. You're going to run up against this on a lot of these passages. So what you need to do on these long strings of 16ths, or the ones that arpeggiate, pick out an interior note, maybe something towards the end, and make sure that you're playing at it, using that as a goal. It's not that I want you to accent it, but to make sure that you're landing on it and blowing through. In my case, it just happened to be that E. It's that note. So what I'm going to do this time is use a little bit more energy on the slur when I get there. And even then it was a little bumpy. So another thing that you might want to do is figure out, hey, is there another way I can play that E? Well, there is. You can use a mellophone fingering and use 1 and 2 on the F horn. Up to tempo. Some people may like that, some people may not. Or you could play that on the B flat horn and stay on the B flat horn from that E down to the A. It gets a little more clean that way. Sometimes relying on the B flat horn is an asset. as you go through this, make sure that you know all your F horn fingerings and all your B flat horn fingerings. Now there's another passage down here near the bottom. It's going the last measure of the fourth line getting into the bottom line, coming up from the E. Some people get a little bit bothered by this stuffy register. What I've found is that playing the low E down there, third finger, and then the G open, and then the next B, and the return to the B a note later. If you do that on the B flat horn, so I'm starting on that E, going third, open, trigger 2, open on the F horn, back to 2 on the B flat horn, and returning to open on the F horn on the E, for me, makes it a little bit easier. If you want to do it the traditional fingering, that's all the way up to you. But there are little things that you can do. If it doesn't seem to work one way with one set of fingerings, try another. One of the things that you first need to do is establish a really good rhythm. So what I recommend at the beginning is just practice just on an arbitrary note. I'm going to choose G. I'm going to set my metronome to that slow tempo, and I'm just going to play the rhythmic pattern on a G. So forth. Now for more interest, otherwise it'll get boring, is do this. When you have a really good tongue speed that you like, then slur everything. Then you put it together, making sure that your finger rhythm leads the tongue. The fingers must always lead the technique. So forth like that. Notice the differentiation between my forte and my piano. It's going to be very important that you make sure that your fortes aren't too heavy. So you need to use just a little bit less on the forte, and then on the piano you can come back even a little bit more. Now, one of the things that we can do to help us with a rapid fire technique on our articulation is to do a trumpet player's trick. So instead of going ta, 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 you notice that when I do that, and if you try that as well, you'll see the whole tongue moving up and down, and it has all this motion, and it gets sluggish. Trumpet players have learned to get a rapid fire tongue. You slightly elevate the tongue in your mouth about halfway in the oral cavity. So your tongue's about halfway between the roof of your mouth and the bottom of your mouth. And the tongue sort of floats in there. The tongue moves a little bit more forward, so that you see that the sound of the tongue is more like a T-I or T, 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 T. T, 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 T. That way, you're only tonguing with the tip quarter inch of your tongue, which makes things a whole lot easier for you. If you're using the air correctly with a good airflow, you'll get the sensation that the air is blowing back the tongue into place. So I do it with the notes proper. Makes things a lot more agile and less like a jackhammer. Rhythmic wise, there is one trap, and I notice not only myself doing it, but also other students as well, is that the tie over to the 16th. A lot of times people are holding that 16th almost to an eighth note, and then they get off so late, then they have to crowd or rush the remaining 16th notes. Da dee da 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 da. So if you think about rebounding immediately off that beat, da dee da 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 dee da 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 dee da da, just like you're on a hot stove and you want to get off. Going in to line 3, you have the skip D to G. Be careful that you don't strain to get this. A lot of times I hear people scrunching their aperture or pinching it, going from an ah to more like an M and pinch. That's not a satisfactory sound. If you use the same opening on the G as you do for this D, and just scoot the air going from here to here, that works out a lot better. A lot of times people think of notes as written on the sheet of music from low to high. Actually, you need to think as a brass player that the lower notes are maybe into you here a little bit more, so they don't need as much velocity air, but it's surely a lot more dense. It's slow. Then as you go higher, you reach the air out further and further in front of you, just as if you're whistling. If you do this and feel the air, you'll immediately see what I'm talking about. If you do this in front of a mirror, there's very little, if any, change in the opening where you're whistling. But you can surely feel that difference when you put your palm up. And notice that when you play or whistle down low, you're using a lot of air, but it's different. It's very slow but dense. I really can't use much air down there for any type of duration. So notes that go up need more air, notes that go down need more air, but it's a lot more dense and slow moving. Watch this next entrance, because here they've changed it to a 16th note. Now what I did then is play the E and then the lower B on the B flat horn, second finger. There's nothing wrong with that. Now here's another thing that I just did that might make it easier for you. I'm starting in the third measure on the fourth line. That A to the D, that might be a little awkward for some people for a response. So an easy solution is to play that D on the B flat horn 1 and 2. Nice little flexibility study. In a nutshell, those are tips for you for number 25. Now, let's hear what this sounds like in its entirety.